Alright, welcome back to learning to program using the Godot game programming engine. Today we're going to branch off from our Programming Mr. Godot project and we're going to build on top of everything we've learned and start making a, let's call it a real platformer game. So we had to replace so many icons and rebuild our tile set and so many things that I figured it'd be a good time to just start a new project. So we're just going to call this Adventure World, and you can name yours whatever you like. And for my images, I've already pulled out a bunch of assets from the Kenny's free assets library, and there's some enemies. I've got some interface stuff that we may use. Now we're not going to use all these in this video. I just pulled out some that I thought were interesting and looked neat and would make for a good game. So in this video, we're going to pull those assets into our project, or we're going to create a new project. We're going to pull those assets in and we're going to make this project, and let's take a quick look at it. So I've got a character. He can move around, he's animated, he can jump, he can collide with stuff, and that's where we're going to get. That's pretty much where we were before, except we're going to add the animations and our new images. So let's get started. Alright, so I'm going to close this down, open Godot, new project. I'm going to call it Class Adventure World, and create project. Alright, so I need to make a folder for my art, and I'm going to go over here to I'm actually going to open this in File Manager. So I have the file folder right here, and I'm going to go over to my assets, and I'm just going to copy those in. Once it's done, I can switch back here. You'll see Godot importing those assets, and there they are, ready to go. Alright, the other thing I need to do is I'm going to make a levels folder, and I think that's all we need for the moment. So we're going to switch into 2D mode, and the first scene we're going to make, let's go ahead and make our first level. So I just need a node, and I will call this level 1, and I'm just going to save that. So I'm going to save that under levels, save. Alright, so there it is. I'm going to create another one, and I'm going to call this tiles. Okay, so I need a node, another node, and this is going to be my tile set template, just like I did before. So I might rename this tile set template, just like that. And I need sprites, right? And I'm going to call this one grass, and I'm going to add a static body. And under that static body I need a collision shape. And if you need to review on how to do this, just go back and look at, let me do my grass tile first. Go back and look at how we did that in the previous tutorial. So here I'm going to find my grass mid, and I'm going to drop that into my texture. Looks good. I'm going to lock these so that I can move them around without moving my children. And let's fix this collision shape to match up. Remember to grab the inner handles and get them as close as you can. Alright, so now that I've done one, I should be able to just duplicate that. So make sure to select at the top, do Control D to duplicate, and now I can rename it, and let's do a dirt, and we'll Control D, and let's do a stone, and let's Control D and do one more, and let's do a water. Alright, so I need to move these out. So there's my stone, there's my water. Water I'm not going to need a collision shape for, because I want to fall through water. Liquid water, there we go. Stone, let's find this stone. Grass, oh, castle, there we go. Boom. And then dirt. Maybe it's this one. Yes, there we go. Would help if that was labeled a little better. So I don't want this one in my levels. I'm just going to move this up to the main thing. So I've saved this scene. I've got all my things named correctly, and they have their collision shapes. Very good. So now I'm going to go to Scene, Convert to Tile Set, and I'm going to leave it here at the base resource, and I'm going to call it Tiles Default Tile Set .tres. It stands for resource. Alright, so that's done. And now back in my main, my level 1, I'm going to add a tile set. Tile map, excuse me. Add a tile map, and I'm going to drag in my tile set, default tile set. There we go, so that gives me that. I'm going to lock this real quick so I don't edit stuff on accident, and let's just give ourselves a nice little floor right there, all the way across my map, and I'll give us a little platform, and let's do some dirt in there, make it look a little prettier. Alright, and if we want to, you can do a little cave over here, and like that. And maybe in the next, in a future episode, we'll actually make the screen where it can move back and forth. Alright, so let's save this. So now we should be able to run, and let's select our main level, our level 1, and we should be able to see this. Now let's get our player in. So to do our player, we'll create a new scene. We'll create a kinematic body. Alright, we'll rename this to player. And we'll add a child node, and we need a sprite so we can see him. And oh, actually, we're not going to use a sprite this time. We're going to use a animated sprite, which acts very similar, except we have this new thing called a sprite frame, and we're able to add and define animations. So I'm going to do an idle animation. Let's do a walk animation. And I'll show you real quickly how this works. So I go into my adventurer, and I'm going to go into poses, and I'm going to do idle. And you just drag it in to the animation. And then walk, and I've got a couple of walk animations right there. Drag both those in, and there we go. And you can also set on whether it loops and how fast it goes. So if you want to make your character look like he's walking faster, you would adjust this number right here. Alright, we'll define more animations in a minute, but for now I just wanted to show you real quickly how that works. So let's go ahead and, whoop, I accidentally saved my player into levels, so let's look real quick how to move that out. So I accidentally saved it here, and I want to move it out. So all I have to do, whoop, if I close this down so I can see. So I want to move it up here, and it's currently in here, so I'm just going to drag it and drop it right there. And Godot is smart enough to, if you have any references to it, it should redo those. Now if you had a script and you had a text reference to it, that you would have to fix on your own. So anyways, so now we've got our player here, we've got an animated sprite, we can see our character, which is what our goal was right there. So now let's add our collision shape. Alright, and let's define a capsule this time. Zooming in, and I want to get it roughly to the size of my character. Now this is shifted up, and in this case what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shift up my sprite and not the collision shape. So to do that, I'm hitting the up arrow keys, and I'm just shifting him up so that his center of gravity is right there on the center of the capsule, and so I'm shifting the image up so that his center of gravity will be correct. I'm going to shift him up one, well, right there. Alright, so now our capsule is defined. It might be a little bit fat. Let's slim him down a little bit. I do want it to hit his head because here we go. I do want it to hit his head because we're going to make him bump into the roof. Alright, so that might be good enough. We can adjust it later if we need to. We've got one animation on there. But now we need a script on here so that we can control how he works. So I'm just going to leave this default, and it's going to make a GD file right there at my base, right in here, right where I want it. Alright, I am going to need this process function, so let's keep that. But I'm going to delete all these comments because we don't need those at the moment. You should be pretty familiar with these regions of the code at this point. I'm also going to leave my ready function in because we may need it as well in just a moment. So first, our goal here is we're going to replicate much of the functionality that we did before, except we're going to make one massive change, and that is we're going to move instead of making multiple move and slide functions inside of our process function, we're going to do one, and we're going to use a velocity to track how our player is moving. And we'll see that in just a second. So I'm going to just call it VEL for velocity, and we're just going to make an empty vector2. And then we're going to add a new function that we have not used before called physics process, and it's also a delta. And if you need to look this up, you can search help, physics process, node physics process right here, and basically it's called during the physics loop. So this is just good practice because it helps sync up any kind of physics movement you have, like the move and slide function, with the physics engine. So you get just more solid behavior out of this. So what I want to do here is I want to do my move and slide function just like before, and I'm going to do vel and this is my velocity, and the only difference I'm going to do here is I'm going to multiply it by delta. So delta is this thing right here, and a delta is the difference between 2 points. And so in this case, it's the difference between, it's the length of time between the last time the physics process ran and this time that the physics process ran. And so this will give me a consistent speed behavior across machines. So if you'd done it before and we didn't add this delta in here, we just did the velocity like that. If you had a faster machine, faster computer, it would run faster, your character would move faster, and if you had a slower machine, it would move slower. And that's not desired behavior, so this will help steady that out. Alright, so now we can pretty much just move this down to the bottom and forget about it, and up here we're going to work in the process function. So like before, right now let's just make him, well, let's add gravity real quick. So gravity is, alright, so gravity is real easy. All we're going to do is we're going to add to the y portion of the velocity. So I'm going to say vel.y, so that's the y portion, and I'm going to use the plus equals, which is the same as saying equals vel.y plus, and then some number right here, right? So I could say gravity. And so I'm going to use a constant, and I'm going to run up here, and I'm going to go var grav equals, and we'll just use 100 at first, and we'll adjust these as we play and discover what numbers we need to use. So I'm going to trim this out. This is the same thing as saying that. This is just a little bit cleaner, looks a little nicer, so we'll leave that in there. Alright, so there's gravity. So now my character should fall, and let's test that real quick. Oh, I forgot to add him to my level. That helps. Alright, so over here in my level, all I have to do is grab my player scene, drag him into the level, and drop him. Now I had the tile map selected, and I dropped him inside the tile, and I don't want that, so let's move him out. That's all I should have to do. And he is not moving. So what did we do wrong? Let's check it out. So in the process function, I am adding to the y velocity, and down here I am moving and sliding it. Huh. I am stumped. Let's add to this just to see if it was too little. I don't think it was. Nope. think I clicked on anything on accident, so you guys get to see debugging in live action. So my next question is, am I actually doing these things? So let's do a print statement and say process, and let's do another one down here and do physics process. And I should see a spam. Oh, okay, so I'm seeing process, but I'm not seeing physics process. I see my mistake right there. Physics process. So that's why little print statements are super helpful sometimes. So if you'd notice when I looked this up, it was spelled physics with an S, and I missed it. So there we go. So let's try this now. There we go. Alright. And my adjustment to velocity actually looks pretty good. Yeah. Alright. Well, I'm glad we got through that. Alright, so now let's move on. So I've got my gravity going on. Let's fix my left and right so I can move left and right. So I can say if input, just like before, is key pressed, and let's do key right. And all I have to do here is say vel.x equals, and I'm going to use a define for this, var player speed equals, or let's just call it speed. We know we're the player, so let's do 1000, and let's do speed. And so this one, he will instantly start moving at that speed. And we'll do key left, vel.x equals negative speed, because negative x is left and positive x is right. Oh, I messed something up. Oh, key. Boy, I'm all thumbs today. Alright, so now I can move to the right, I can move to the left, and I'm moving extremely slow. So let's boost that up to about, let's try 5,000. That's a little better, not bad. And you'll notice he's sliding, and if I let go of the key, so I just let go, I just touch the key and let go, he's sliding. And the reason is I've adjusted my velocity, right? And it's sticking, and I'm not undoing it. So what I need to do is change this to else if, and then finally an else. So what this will do is, if this is true, then this will run. If this is true, then this will run. And then otherwise, this will run. So, and I'm just going to set it to 0. So the implication here, though, is that if I'm holding down both right and left, this one will take precedence, and so I'll only move to the right, and it won't even check to see if the left button is pressed. Alright, but the upside is I won't, so I'm going to hold right, let go, I stop, left, let go, I stop, but if I hold left and right, I do go to the right. And we could probably fix that with in some way, but for now let's just leave this alone. But this is a good example of a good use case for the if and else statement. So we've used if a lot in the past, but I don't think we've used the else if and else very often. Now I could use, you can just use if and else, but I need this extra condition here. So probably the way you would fix it if you wanted to fix the left and right at the same time is you could combine these statements. Up here you could say if this or this, right? So if one of these is pressed, then I could handle that in here. But that's not what I want to do right now. We'll just leave it simple. Alright, so I've got my left and right movement, and so let's add a jump, right? So we had before we had all this, but we didn't have a jump. And so to add a jump, we need to make one small adjustment. Right here, this move and slide function, if you put a comma in here, if you look this up, let's do that. Move and slide 2D, and we look at the things it takes. It takes this floor normal, And then if I come down here to floor normal, is the up direction used to determine what is a wall, a floor, and a ceiling. So when I don't provide that, Godot doesn't know if I'm on a floor or not. It doesn't know which direction is up. So I'm going to create a variable, a constant up here, and I'm just going to call it up vector. And I'm going to vector 2, 0, and up is negative y, right? So positive y goes down and negative y goes up. And it doesn't matter how long the length of this vector, so we're just going to use what's called a unit vector, which is 1 unit. Alright, so up vector x negative 1, and I just need to pass that in here. So up vector, just like that. And now I should be able to test to see where my ground is. So I can say if, and then because I'm on this kinematic body right here, right, I can say is on floor. Alright, so now this will print if I'm on the floor, or will run if I'm on the floor. So let's say on floor. We'll just test that real quick so we can see it in action. So I'm going to fall, and then it's going to start printing on floor, and I don't have a way to jump to get off the floor yet. And the reason we did this is we want to make the character jump. So I'm going to say vel.y equals jump height. Alright, I need to define jump height, so let's jump up here, var jump height. And it's not really a height, it's actually an impulse. So I'm going to give him an upward boost, right? And so let's make it a really big number. Let's try 20,000. Let's see how big of a jump that is. Oh, and I don't have a way to activate it, but it was activating here. Should have been activating there. So I may need a bigger number. But I meant to add a if statement here. So if input dot, and this is the one thing we will do something a little bit different. So I need a new one called action is action just pressed. So if I have a key is pressed, it's going to fire this over and over and over as long as that key is down. In this case, just pressed means it'll only work once when you just press the key. But you notice this is not key, it's action. So I need to go up here to my project settings, input map, and here you can create new input actions. But there's already one right here called, both of these take the spacebar, and that's what I'd like to use. So let's just use this UI accept action. So I'm going to say UI accept. It gives me some nice little help right there. And so now this should only fire when I do that. So let's do a print statement to test that jump. Alright. So now when I'm running, if I hit the space bar, I am jumping, so it is firing, but I'm not moving. So let's fix that. So I did do y equals jump height, so it should set it instantly to this 20,000. Let's add another 0 and see if that fixes it. Does not. So, oh, I know the problem. Did you spot it? So which direction is y? Positive. That's down. So I'm actually trying to push him down into the ground. So what I need is a negative jump height number right there, right? There we go. Alright. So now he's jumping. I can move around. This is looking pretty good. Alright, so let's speed up here. So I'm going to bump this up just a little bit. Let's go to like 3,500. Let's test that real quick. So the next thing I need to do is check my animations. Alright, so he's jumping. Need just a touch more to be able to get up on that platform. Let's do 3,900, and the next thing I need to do is my animation. So got him moving, jumping, and the other thing, actually let's do this one real quick. So if I go left, he slides left and he doesn't turn around. So let's fix that real quick. That's easy to do. All we have to do is right here, when we do the right, we're going to use a feature of the animated sprite called flip horizontal. So all I need to do is get my node, and I'm going to do the animated sprite, and I'm going to call flip H, which stands for flip horizontal equals and then true. Alright, and then for, whoops, this one's false, because my character is going right in my sprite right here. He's already facing right. So when I go left is when I want to flip the H. So right here, left, flip H is true, right, false. So I'm going right, now I'm going left. Alright, that's all we had to do. That was easy. Alright, so now the last thing I want to do real quickly is I want to adjust the I want to set the animations. So I can do that easily by saying get this node, the animated sprite, and all we're going to do is do this play function. Right? Play, and it asks me for which one I want to play. So I'm going to do walk. And do the same in here. And here I want to switch it back to idle. So when he stops walking, he's not moving left or right. I want to go back to idle. And when I jump, I want to, let's get rid of our little help thing there. When I jump, I want it to use the jump animation, but I don't think we defined that yet. So let's go in there and do that. So I go to my resource here, there we go, and I'm going to create a new one, and let's make a jump. And we'll go to our art, adventure, poses, and I should have a jump down here somewhere. There we go, jump. Alright, so let's go back into our code, and I set it to jump, so let's see what happens. Now this is not going to work, but we'll look at it. So I can go right, I walk, oh look at that, when I stop, he goes back to idle, but when I jump, I see it for like a brief second, but then he goes back to walking. And the reason for that is because I'm now in the sky, and I'm still moving left and right. So what I can do is I can say else right here. So if I'm on the floor, then I have these actions. Otherwise, I'm in the sky, right? And so I can have another set of actions. So what I could do is I could move my player movement to on the floor, alright, so that I can only move when I'm on the floor, and then if I'm in the air, let's just always be in the jump animation. So that works. The only problem is I can't adjust my movement while I'm in the air. So next time I think we'll cut right here, and next time we'll do a couple adjustments to our player so that we can enhance this. But also another thing I noticed is if we stand here for a little while and then we move off, he snaps down really quick. And the reason for that is because right here we're actually building up gravity over time. And actually that's a really easy fix. Let's fix that real quick. So if I'm on the floor, I don't need to continue to build my Y velocity. So I'm just going to set it to like 10. Right? So I still want to be pushing into the floor, but I don't want to be pushing super hard. Oh, there I've got a little bit. Oh, remember I forgot. I'm pushing the wrong way. Well, we'll fix that next time. Don't want to get too off topic. Alright, so there we go, and hope you enjoyed. Next time we'll push our player controller a little bit further and make it even more fancy, but I think we made some good progress in this one. Alright, thanks guys. Oh, and I used some videos to help me develop this, and I will link them in the description below because I think those guys deserve credit. They actually took this a lot further than I did. I'm trying to keep it simple, but if you want to do some more interesting things, these guys have all done fantastic videos on it. Alright, thanks guys, bye.